to see a movie.
Sounds nice.
What about you?
And by the way, I'm Kristen Cho.
And I'm Cameron Word.
Yes, we forgot to mention we were so excited about the weekend that we forgot to introduce ourselves.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, I am trying, and I don't know if I mentioned this on air, but I am trying to watch a movie every week.
Oh, yeah?
Like in the theater.
In the theater. Get out of the house.
That's right. Not like streaming service.
Go eat some popcorn.
Yeah, like nacho chips. Forget the popcorn. I'm all about the nacho chips.
You're about the nacho chips.
Yeah. Oh, dear, nacho chips.
You know what I got into for a while? I don't eat it so much anymore. Sometimes you can get the squid with like the peanut butter.
Yes.
Or the butter.
I know.
That's really good.
I know. You are so Korean.
But it's like I've only really seen it at the movie theater.
Mm-hmm. I think you can find them at the convenience store, but somehow at the movie theater, it just tastes better.
It tastes better.
Everything tastes better, right?
Yes, it does.
All right, we are going to talk about loneliness today.
Mm.
And the topic is the loneliness epidemic.
Yeah.
외로움 전염병.
Oh, interesting way to express this.
I know.
It's just a lot of people feeling lonely.
Yeah.
And it's having a negative effect on them.
Right. And how about you, Cameron? Do you sometimes feel lonely?
Never. So I spend a lot of time alone, but I don't feel lonely.
Yes.
That we kind of say that in English. Alone but not lonely.
혼자는 있는데
외롭지 않아요.
않아요. Oh, yeah, that's a good thing. It's true. And I'm not alone. Mm-hmm. I wish I was.
You wish you were alone. Well, that's the thing. You can be with other people and still feel lonely.
Oh, they say even when you're married, people feel lonely.
Yes.
When they drift apart or. So loneliness affects a lot of people.
Yes, it does.
And we're going to talk about that today. Now, here are some expressions that we're going to cover. If something pours in, what does this mean?
It comes in in big numbers. It floods in.
Yeah, it's like that's why we say, when the rain is coming down hard, it's pouring.
Yes.
So it's that idea.
It's a large amount coming in.
All right, reach out to someone.
You're contacting them, you're maybe talking to them, and it's often because you want help or support.
Okay. And if you do something on a regular basis.
Consistently, often, it's got a regular schedule that you do it.
Okay, very good. So these are the expressions that we're going to cover today. Let's go ahead and listen to our article. A Harvard psychologist began a study on loneliness in the early months of the pandemic in 2020. He knew the rates of loneliness among Americans had been climbing prior to the crisis, so he expected the number to have skyrocketed. After sending out his survey, the results quickly came pouring in. Nearly 50% of respondents said they reached out to people, but felt nobody reached out to them. More than 1/3 felt lonely on a regular basis, while a similar amount felt lonely occasionally. These feelings were most common among those aged 18 to 25. Since the end of the pandemic, the loneliness epidemic has persisted, although the numbers have slightly declined. Here we go. Our power article can be found on page 122. A Harvard psychologist began a study on loneliness in the early months of the pandemic in 2020. Okay, so there was a study on loneliness. He knew the rates of loneliness among Americans had been climbing prior to the crisis, so he expected the number to have skyrocketed. Okay, now pandemic, corona pandemic, COVID-19. This psychologist knew that it was growing, loneliness, and he expected the number to have skyrocketed. Okay, skyrocketed is one word.
Yes.
What does this mean?
This means to increase quickly and by a large amount. Pew! So like a rocket, it is going up very quickly.
To the sky, very quickly. Skyrocket means go up very quickly. And then he says, after sending out his survey, the results quickly came pouring in. Okay, so he gave a survey to many people, and those surveys came back, but they came back in a certain way.
They came pouring in.
Yes.
So this means that they came back in a large amount. So if he sent out let's say he sent out like 5,000 of these papers, surveys. Then he got maybe 3,000 of them just like
in
very
1
quickly.
week. Yeah.
So this pouring in, it's kind of like he opens his front door and all the letters, all the papers just flow into his house.
Yes.
There's just a large amount coming in quickly.
Right. So sometimes calls can pour in.
Yes.
Like you can get phone calls. Maybe you're a business and so many people are interested in your product. So they, calls are pouring in. People can pour into the stadium or a convention center.
Yes.
Yes. It's that like all at once and a lot.
Right.
Okay. All right. Let's continue.
Nearly 50% of respondents said they reached out to people but felt nobody reached out to them.
Okay, so now he's talking about the results, okay? 50% of the people who took the survey, who are respondents, they reached out to other people, but nobody reached out to them. So, good question here is, what is reach out?
Reach out in this case means that you are trying to contact someone or you're asking them for help.
Yeah.
So you can just say reach out to say try and contact, but in this specific case, they're feeling lonely.
Yeah.
And so as a solution for that loneliness, they are trying to connect with someone else.
Right,
They're reaching out to them.
That's right. So they reached out, but then nobody reached out to them.
Yes.
That's not a good feeling.
Right?
Yeah.
Hey, I need some help. Can you help me?
Yeah.
Silence.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
All right. More than 1/3 felt lonely on a regular basis, while a similar amount felt lonely occasionally. Now, let's break this down. Okay? More than 1/3. Okay.
Yes.
More than is our power pattern.
So this more than means that it's not even 1/3. It is higher than that.
Yes.
So this more than in English does not include 1/3.
Oh.
Does that make sense? So if you say more than 10, it starts at 10.1. 10 is not included in this figure.
Ooh, that's kind of confusing.
If you want to include the number, you have to say 1/3 or more. That includes the 1/3, but more than does not include the number that you say.
Whoa, that's a very good detail to know.
Yes.
Okay, so more than 1/3 is not even 1/3. It's definitely beyond
if
that.
If 1/3 is 33.3%, it starts at 33.4.
4%.
It starts.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so of course, 1/3 is 3분의 1, right?
Yeah.
So they felt lonely on a regular basis. We can all feel lonely sometimes.
Yes.
But if you feel lonely on a regular basis, how lonely are you?
You are feeling lonely often. It is not rare, but it is not always. It is common, it is often, and it's often at a similar time. So maybe every Saturday afternoon, you feel lonely. That's
very specific.
But it's the point, though, of regular. Regular means at the same time or at a similar time. There's a time span that you're measuring this.
So, for instance, you are not lonely during the day because you're working.
Yeah.
But the minute you go home, you can feel lonely.
Yeah, you close your door.
Yeah.
And
silence.
The apartment is dark.
No dog.
There's no dog.
Just you.
And you've got to make rice by yourself. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's when you feel lonely.
Right. Okay. Now, a similar amount, so another third, felt lonely occasionally. So sometimes.
Yeah.
These feelings were most common among those aged 18 to 25. Since the end of the pandemic, the loneliness epidemic has persisted, although the numbers have slightly declined. It's interesting that the people who feel lonely you would think are 70 and over or 65 and over, but it's actually young people.
I don't know. That makes sense to me.
Yeah?
Because if you think young people are more worried about how they look to they're very much worried about their friends.
Yes.
I feel the older I get, the less I worry about
that is true.
what my friends think, right? So,
Okay.
And it is a sad fact, but
yes.
a lot of people are dealing with loneliness.
Right. Okay, let's go ahead and listen to that one more time. Okay, it's time for Power Note. We're on pages 124 and 125. If something pours in, and the spelling is P-O-U-R, just like you're pouring water, coffee, you don't do it drip by drip, like one drop at a time.
Yeah, it's usually a larger...
Right, exactly. So it is to arrive or to come in a lot, in a big number.
Yes.
At once. Okay, what's the best part about being famous?
I get a lot of really sweet fan letters. They come pouring in every day.
Oh, wow. Lots of fan letters. Mm-hmm. People came pouring into the high school gym as the tornado sirens howled.
So a lot of people come into the gym all at once.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. What other things can come all at once? What other examples?
So we often hear this about like any type of phone call or message. Mm-hmm. So maybe you're in a business and your product that you just launched has a big fault and complaints.
It's like a recall?
In. It's like you're going to have to recall it because something was wrong.
Okay.
And complaints come pouring in.
Yeah, that can happen definitely. Mm-hmm. I was also thinking that maybe you lost someone. Someone passed away.
Yes.
Like maybe your husband or your wife or, I don't know, whoever, family member passed away. And, condolences poured in.
Yeah, condolences. Those messages of like, oh, we're sorry for your loss.
Right.
Those types of messages definitely will come pouring in.
All right. Okay, if you reach out to someone, you are not only contacting them just to say hello, but you're actually wanting their help or support.
Yes.
Okay. I'm so depressed lately. I don't know why.
Maybe you should reach out to a psychologist I know. Here's his number.
Mm-hmm. Yeah?
Yeah. A psychologist, usually they try to help.
Sure. The reporter reached out to the mayor for comment about the increase in crime. So here, the reporter reached out to the mayor. It's not necessarily, I need your help. But they wanted to contact them for a very specific purpose.
Yes, here you're getting the comment. So the reporter is writing their article, and they want to put the mayor's comment in it, right?
Okay.
So this is another instance where it's not necessarily help, but in business as well, you might reach out to a third party, another company, to help you with marketing, for example.
Yeah.
Maybe you're going to call them and ask them to give you some marketing suggestions or come up with a marketing campaign. Those types of things. So you are probably receiving some kind of service or help, no matter what type of reaching out it is.
Yeah, and also, too, maybe your boss could ask you, hey, have you reached out to company ABC and, to see if they're interested in working with us?
Yes.
So this is a term or a phrase that's quite often used in the business field.
Right, yeah. Maybe the most used in the business field all the time. Oh, I reached out with them. They said they can't help us right now. Or, oh, we set up the meeting next week.
Because the word contact can be used. Did you contact them? But contact is just a contact. It's a connection.
Right. It's just like, did you call them or not?
Yes.
Were you successful in calling them?
Or not?
Did they answer the phone or not?
Right.
That's kind of what you're asking with contact. Where with reach out, it feels more like there was a discussion, some type of request was made.
Exactly. Okay. Very good. To reach out to someone. Now, if you do something on a regular basis, you're doing it consistently, routinely, and if you do it on a regular basis, like, it doesn't have to be every day.
No, it doesn't have to be every day, but it does need to be pretty often.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So consistently.
Weekly.
Yeah, maybe weekly.
Every other day.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Because consistent is just about doing it at the same time. So you could be consistent and do it once a year.
Well, that's true.
But we wouldn't call that a regular basis. Once a year is kind of not often enough.
That's it. Okay. Do you work out?
I go swimming and walking on a regular basis.
Oh.
Maybe at least 2 or 3 times a week.
Okay, good. I visited my grandmother on a regular basis when I was a kid.
Here, maybe once every 2 months.
Yeah.
At the longest.
Yeah, maybe every weekend.
Maybe. That'd be a lot.
Yeah. Or once a month.
Yeah, at least, maybe once a month is a good.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you do on a regular basis, Cameron?
Not often.
Oh.
No, I have a pretty...
You walk your dog.
I do walk my dog.
Yeah.
But that's every day. I feel when it's every day, then it makes it hard to say on a regular basis.
Oh, that's interesting. So if you do something every day, that's just every day.
Like if you say, I brush my teeth on a regular basis, kind of feels weird.
Yeah.
It's like, why are you not brushing every day?
Twice a day.
Twice a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're kind of like saying, I brush it every other day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you could say, I do laundry on a regular basis.
Yes.
Every 2 or 3 days I have to do some laundry.
Sure, very good. But not every day.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Good point. Power pattern more than is, as we explained, more than the number that you just mentioned.
Yes, it does not include the number you say.
Okay. More than half of the bird species will be extinct in 50 years.
So it's 51% and above.
Okay.
More than 70% of people surveyed believe in ghosts.
Okay. So, everybody believes in ghosts, it seems. The power vocab is skyrocket, which means it's like going up very quickly and steeply. Also, we encourage you to stop by Audio Ohakdang. Pay a very small monthly fee if you want to listen to this again and again, as well as so many other programs on EBS Radio.
Yes, even ones that aren't on the radio.
Yes.
They're only on Audio Ohakdang.
That's right. There are podcasts there as well. Okay, thanks so much for listening. It's a wrap.
Psychologist began a study on loneliness in the early months of the pandemic in 2020. He knew the rates of loneliness among Americans had been climbing prior to the crisis, so he expected the number to have skyrocketed. After sending out his survey, the results quickly came pouring in. Nearly 50% of respondents said they reached out to people, but felt nobody reached out to them. More than 1/3 felt lonely on a regular basis, while a similar amount felt lonely occasionally. These feelings were most common among those aged 18 to 25. Since the end of the pandemic, the loneliness epidemic has persisted, although the numbers have slightly declined.